Please rise for the national anthem.
Long ago, our people lived in harmony with the desert. They knew every star in the sky and every plant that grew from the sand. But now, the air feels different than in the stories my grandparents tell. Some days, the sun feels too hot and I see dry earth where plants used to bloom. This is the world I've been given. But everywhere I look, I also see hope growing like a tiny seed in the soil.
يا سعد عينك بالضراب يا حمامة يلي على خضر الجرايد تغني يا سعد عينك بالضراب يا حمامة يلي على خضر الجرايد تغني.
I see families all over the world teaching their children how to care for the soil, just like our ancestors did. Because together, our hands restore.
رجلي علق بردي باكتافي. الله ينصرك يا محمد، شب ناره ودفاني. يا لا لا يا لا 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 لا. ضامن بردي في يدي من سواضم رجلي، علق بردي باكتافي. الله ينصرك يا محمد، مره ودفاني. ألا يا خلي ما قصرت، غير البخات فيني قصر. ألا يا خلي ما قصرت، قوم شد الحمول واليابة على طريق نعمان، يا ويل يا ويل حالي يا حالي. عمي يا جمال قوم شد الحمول واليابة على طريق نعمان، يا ويل يا ويل حالي يا حالي. يا ليحي ويا ليحاني يا ليحي ويا ليحاني، بياع العنب ما جاني. شكله يا سعد زعلاني، شكله يا سعد زعلاني، بياع العنب ما جاني. يا ليحي ويا ليحاني، بياع العنب ما جاني. راوية يا حلالي يا راوية، راوية بنت عمي يا راوية. راوية يا حلالي يا راوية، راوية بنت عمي يا راوية.
Long ago, people would gather under the stars to solve big problems together. Today, we are here to do the same. This is our chance to write our own story. Welcome to COP16. Welcome to Riyadh.
Your Royal Highnesses, Your Excellencies, distinguished leaders, environmental pioneers, and dedicated advocates from around the world. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Fatma Fahad, and I'm thrilled to welcome you all to Riyadh, where the future takes root today. It is a true pleasure to see such a diverse gathering of brilliant minds and compassionate hearts all gathering here today for one purpose and shared mission to protect and nurture the land upon which we all depend. Saudi Arabia is honored to host the 16th conference of the parties to the UN Convention to Combat Desertification, COP16, the largest UN land conference to date, and the first to be held in the Middle East and the North Africa region. Today we come together to lay the foundation for a better future. The hosting of COP16 reflects the keen interest of wise leadership in advancing environmental sustainability. Saudi Arabia has made significant steps in recent years, as evident by the launch of Vision 2030 and the Saudi Green Initiative at the national level, along with the Middle East Green Initiative regionally. On the global stage, though, Saudi Arabia has also led great efforts like the Global Initiative on reducing land degradation and enhancing conservation of terrestrial habitats, as well as the Global Coral Research and Development Accelerator platform launched during the Saudi G20 in 2020, as you recall. Today, as we unite under the theme, Our Land, Our Future, a theme that highlights legacy, responsibility, opportunity, we are reminded that the actions we take today will shape the future for generations to come. So, because in the end, our land is truly our future. Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, distinguished leaders, we are here to build partnerships and face the challenge of land degradation with courage and optimism. The energy in this room echoes commitment, possibility, and hope. So this is our moment to unite and to dream, and to make those dreams and visions become reality. As the opening ceremony, powerful imagery, as we saw, of resilience and growth, we are not here just to discuss, we are here to take action together. As we move into the next phase of this event, I invite you to stay fully engaged. Lead the conversation, every idea, every commitment, be with a sense of purpose. Let us celebrate the strength of our global community, standing together to achieve a brighter and thriving future for all, local, regional, and global level. So welcome to COP16 here in the capital of Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, as we are shaping a greener future for our world. I will now be handing the floor and the stage over to UNCCD Secretary to commence with the formal program. So as the committee please make their way to the stage, I ask you to kindly remain seated and enjoy the remainder of your morning.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I declare open the 16th session of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification and call to order its first meeting. I will now deliver a statement in my capacity as President of the 15th session of the Conference of the Parties.
I need you. My fields are turning to dust. I gave you everything I could, but I have nothing left. I fed you, nurtured you, cared for you. The ground beneath your feet runs vibrant with life, turning to dust. My fields are degraded, hunger growing, people fleeing. I gave you fertile soil, rich with life. You took it, exhausted it, until life could no longer flourish. Can't you hear? I'm parched, gasping for breath. But it doesn't have to be this way. Our shared resources are in your hands, from dust to grass, from cracks to strength. I can heal. But not alone. I am calling once more. This time, will you answer?
Your Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to begin by thanking our host for the warm welcome extended to the participants of this major event that is COP16 of the UNCCD. It is with deep respect and great pride that I address you today as we reflect on the end of the mandate of COP15 UNCCD held in Côte d'Ivoire in May 2022. Today we come together to assess our achievements in light of the challenges we must overcome. The members of the Bureau and I have worked with determination to strengthen our commitment to land restoration and preservation in the face of the pressing and escalating environmental challenges of our time. It was an honor and a great source of pride for me to serve as president of COP15 to advance in this collective fight against desertification and to carry forward the vision and ambitions of the parties you represent. Dear delegates, the COP15 held in Abidjan in 2022 marked a significant progress. Through your collective drive, we made bold decisions to strengthen our resilience against land degradation and drought, focusing on innovation, the mobilization of financing, and the involvement of local communities, particularly women and the youth. Our mandate at the helm of COP15 also reflected the vision of the President of Côte d'Ivoire, His Excellency Mr. Alassane Ouattara, and his unwavering commitment to combating the ravages of desertification while pursuing sustainable development pathways that benefit our economies and populations. In this spirit, for more than 2 years, Cote d'Ivoire has been implementing the Abidjan Legacy Program initiated by the head of state. This program addresses, through more than 112 projects, the issue of land degradation and its impact on the accelerating economic development progress in Cote d'Ivoire. The initial results are extremely encouraging, and I wish to extend my gratitude to our partners and friendly nations who have made this possible. Their support is crucial in our fight against the effects of desertification and land degradation. Among the achievements of COP15, I would also like to highlight the increased inclusion of the young people, the generations of tomorrow. They are the future, and their place is at the heart of international discussions, where their voice must be heard, and we have succeeded in creating a seat for them alongside with us. This is why, for the first time, we have appointed a special youth envoy, a strong symbolic gesture that demonstrates our commitment to young people. This development was also accompanied by the launch of an innovative awareness-raising tool, the desertification fresco, as well as the appointment of a fresco ambassadors from various regions of the world. The UNCCD Young Negotiators Program is a concrete example that illustrates our desire to involve young people in the negotiations and in building sustainable solutions for our planet. Ladies and gentlemen, throughout our mandate, we have remained optimistic. The progress made promising. However, the situation remains urgent. We must go further and faster today. We found ourselves caught in a vicious cycle that we must break. We can only achieve this if we move beyond the silos that hinder our collective action, and if we adopt a holistic approach that recognizes the constant interaction between desertification, biodiversity loss, and the acceleration of climate change. In this context, I wish to reiterate the call made by African countries during the 10th extraordinary session of the African Ministerial Conference of the Environment. This call advocates for the establishment of a legally binding protocol on drought management and resilience building under the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, specifically for countries severely affected by drought and desertification, particularly in Africa. Given the urgency of the situation, I hope that the stronger collaboration initiated between the presidencies of the three COPs will continue. Indeed, we have succeeded in consolidating the indispensable synergy between the three Rio Conventions by signing two joint declarations. Regarding public awareness and political advocacy related to land degradation, we have succeeded in attracting the attention of leaders, notably through the creation of the desertification fresco card game. We have paved the way. It is now up to you to act collectively, but also to achieve better coordination and coherence of national policies to combat drought. Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, at this solemn moment, it is time to hand over the baton to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is hosting COP16. To our Saudi brothers, You have our full support in carrying this mission forward to new milestones. We have no doubt in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's ability to elevate our shared legacy even further, as it stands at the forefront of challenges related to land degradation, sandstorms, and drought. COP16 will provide an opportunity to deepen the efforts initiated here, intensify international cooperation, and address climate, ecological, and soil preservation challenges with strength and unity. We have laid a solid foundation, and these commitments will require rigorous follow-up and active implementation in every country. This work begins now and must continue with even greater determination, as every effort, every action, and every initiative counts. We have both the opportunity and the responsibility to protect our lands, restore those that are degraded, and ensure that everyone, wherever they may be, can enjoy the benefits of a healthy and productive environment. Together with determination, solidarity, and responsibility, we will continue to work for the well-being of our planet and its inhabitants, so that we may leave to our children and grandchildren a world where the land thrives and sustains life. Thank you all for your commitment and dedication. On behalf of the President of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire, His Excellency Mr. Alassane Ouattara, I thank you all for the trust placed in Cote d'Ivoire during these years of leadership at the for the COP15 presidency. Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I now invite the Conference of the Parties to consider item 1A of the provisional agenda for the session in order to proceed to the election of the President of the 16th session. I understand that there is a general agreement among the parties to elect His Excellency Abdul Rahman Abdul Mohsen Al Fadley, Minister of Environment, Water and Agriculture of Saudi Arabia, to the position of President of the 16th session of the Conference of the Parties. May I take it that the conference wishes to elect His Excellency Abdul Rahman Abdul Mohsen Al Fadley of Saudi Arabia as President of the 16th session of the Conference of the Parties? I can hear no objection. Do you? None. It is so decided. On behalf of the conference, I wish to congratulate His Excellency Abdul Rahman Abdul Mohsen Al Fadley on his election and invite him to take his seat at the podium.
In the name of Allah, dear participants, I am honored to have been elected president of the 16th COP of the UNCCD. And I wish to express now, I will now deliver my statement in my capacity as president of COP16. In the name of God, in the name of Allah. In the name of Allah, may the peace and prayers be upon the Prophet. Excellencies, Your Excellency, Under Secretary General of the UN, ladies and gentlemen, heads of delegations, member of delegation, may God's peace and blessings be upon you all. It is my pleasure to welcome you all in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the opening ceremony of COP16 of the UNCCD. And we look forward to this conference, especially that it is of great interest to His Majesty, the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, and His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. We look forward to intensifying action under this convention in order to face the challenges and promote integration between various international environment organizations, conventions, namely the Rio on biodiversity and climate change, in order to achieve ambitious outcomes, in order to limit land degradation, reduce drought, and to achieve the humanity and the welfare of humanity all over the world. We would like to express our gratitude to the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire for its presidency of COP15, and also our gratitude to the Convention's Bureau and Secretariat for their effective implementation of the convention during the previous period. We would like also to thank all member states, international, regional organizations, as well as CSOs taking part in this session. Our agenda for this session includes many important topics related to land degradation, drought, and desertification, which reiterates the importance of working on the UNCCD strategic framework for the period 2018 to 2030, as well as supporting the proposed approach and methodology in order to implement the strategic framework so that we can increase our resilience in the face of challenges that are faced by various regions of the world in terms of land degradation, drought, and desertification. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as it hosts this session, expresses its interest in preserving environment at the national, regional, and international level. The Middle East is one of the regions of the world that is most impacted by land degradation, drought, and desertification, and we seek to face environment challenges in partnership with the international community. That's why Vision 2030 aimed at protecting environment, limiting land degradation, combating desertification as our utmost priority, because protecting the environment and natural resources is essential in achieving sustainable development and quality of life. And in order to achieve these goals, we adopted the National Environment Strategy, and we established a fund for the environment, as well as 5 ad hoc centers for environment, namely the National Center for Vegetation Covered and Combating Desertification. We have also updated our environmental regulations in line with international standards. We have established initiatives, programs, and plans to promote commitment to environment regulations, to limit pollution, to develop vegetation cover and wildlife, as well as improving waste management, meteorological services, and other researches. Saudi Green Initiative aims at the restoration of 40 million hectares of degraded land to increase national reserves by 30% in 2030. This goal was launched by Saudi Arabia in 2021, 1 year before the global goal at the end of 2022 in Montreal. We also work on increasing renewable energy to constitute more than 50% of the energy mix in Saudi Arabia by 2030, reducing carbon emissions. And we also have a national strategy for water in order to preserve water resources and their sustainability. And we have implemented many initiatives in order to ensure water recycling. And to achieve sustainability of water and the environment. We're also working on a national strategy for agriculture in order to promote agriculture and sustainable management of arable lands, as well as a national food security strategy in order to limit food waste by 50%. Dear participants, international reports show the degradation of more than 100 million hectares of agricultural land, forest, and grasslands by every year. And this has an impact on more than 3 billion persons around the world. And this will lead to a loss of $6 trillion per year, in addition to losses in biodiversity and climate change. And this will have an impact on essential components of our lives, namely water, air, and food. And this has an impact on more than 1.8 billion people. This will increase levels of migration, stability, and security among many communities. That's why we need to increase international levels at all levels in order to face these international challenges. The UNCCD is a framework for collective action and cooperation between our countries, and this requires us to observe policies to achieve the goals in order to restore our land, to invest in increasing vegetation cover, innovating in sustainable solutions, cooperating to transfer experiences and techniques, and to adopt programs and initiatives to promote the partnership between governments, public sector, CSOs, finance institutions, NGOs, and to agree on binding tools that promote international joint action. We are optimistic that such efforts will open the way for a new era to preserve our land, to restore it, to limit the impact of drought. And this is not limited to the goals of this convention alone, but will also have a positive impact on climate change and biodiversity, and increase security of water, of food, and quality of life for human communities. We welcome you again, and we wish you a nice day in our country. And we look forward to your effective and constructive participation in this session. This COP will be a historic period of the development of our convention in order to limit land degradation, to limit drought all over the world, in order to secure a sustainable future to the present and future generations. Thank you, and may God's peace and blessings be upon you all.
يسرني الآن أن أدعو صاحب السمو الأمير الدكتور فيصل بن عبد العزيز بن محمد بن عياف أمير منطقة الرياض إلى إلقاء الكلمة الترحيبية. صاحب السمو والكلمة لكم الآن.
أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، الحضور الكريم، السلام.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I welcome you and I invoke God's blessings. Today, I am here before you in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, not just as the mayor of Riyadh, but as a representative of a country that is proud to have taken up one of the greatest challenges today, namely desertification and drought. These are interlinked phenomena which constitute a challenge for our communities, particularly for the most vulnerable communities. And indeed, these are challenges that affect economic, social, and environmental performance, in particular in the context of rapid industrialization and urbanization. And I'd like to welcome you all to Riyadh to the opening of COP16 of the UN Convention on Combating Desertification. We are united in a common mission to promote this fight against desertification.
Long ago, people would gather under the stars to solve big problems together. Today, we are here to do the same. This is our chance to write our own story. Welcome to COP16. Welcome to Riyadh.
Your Royal Highnesses, Your Excellencies, distinguished leaders, environmental pioneers, and dedicated advocates from around the world. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Fatma Fahad, and I'm thrilled to welcome you all to Riyadh, where the future takes root today. It is a true pleasure to see such a diverse gathering of brilliant minds and compassionate hearts all gathering here today for one purpose and shared mission: to protect and nurture the land upon which we all depend. Saudi Arabia is honored to host the 16th conference of the parties to the UN Convention to Combat Desertification, COP16, the largest UN land conference to date, and the first to be held in the Middle East and the North Africa region. Today we come together to lay the foundation for a better future. The hosting of COP16 reflects the keen interest of wise leadership in advancing environmental sustainability. Saudi Arabia has made significant steps in recent years, as evident by the launch of Vision 2030 and the Saudi Green Initiative at the national level, along with the Middle East Green Initiative regionally. On the global stage, though, Saudi Arabia has also led great efforts like the Global Initiative on reducing land degradation and enhancing conservation of terrestrial habitats, as well as the Global Coral Research and Development Accelerator Platform launched during the Saudi G20 in 2020, as you recall. Today, as we unite under the theme, Our Land, Our Future, a theme that highlights legacy, responsibility, opportunity, we are reminded that the actions we take today will shape the future for generations to come. So, because in the end, our land is truly our future. Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, distinguished leaders, we are here to build partnerships and face the challenge of land degradation with courage and optimism. The energy in this room echoes commitment, possibility, and hope. So this is our moment to unite and to dream, and to make those dreams and visions become reality. As the opening ceremony, powerful imagery, as we saw, of resilience and growth, we are not here just to discuss, we are here to take action together. As we move into the next phase of this event, I invite you to stay fully engaged. Let the conversation, every idea, every commitment be with a sense of purpose. Let us celebrate the strength of our global community, standing together to achieve a brighter and thriving future for all, local, regional, and global level. So welcome to COP16 here in the capital of Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, as we are shaping a greener future for our world. I will now be handing the floor and the stage over to UNCCD Secretary to commence with the formal program. So as the committee please make their way to the stage, I ask you to kindly remain seated and enjoy the remainder of your morning.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I declare open the 16th session of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification and call to order its first meeting. I will now deliver a statement in my capacity as President of the 15th session of the Conference of the Parties.
I need you. My fields are turning to dust. I gave you everything I could, but I have nothing left. I fed you, nurtured you, cared for you. The ground beneath your feet, once vibrant with life, turning to dust. My fields are degraded. Hunger growing, people fleeing. I gave you fertile soil, rich with life. You took it, exhausted it, until life could no longer flourish. Can't you hear? I'm parched, gasping for breath. But it doesn't have to be this way. Our shared resources are in your hands, from dust to grass, from cracks to strength. I can heal. But not alone. I am calling once more. This time, will you answer?
Your Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to begin by thanking our host for the warm welcome extended to the participants of this major event that is COP16 of the UNCCD. It is with deep respect and great pride that I address you today as we reflect on the end of the mandate of COP15 UNCCD held in Côte d'Ivoire in May 2022. Today we come together to assess our achievements in light of the challenges we must overcome. The members of the Bureau and I have worked with determination to strengthen our commitment to land restoration and preservation in the face of the pressing and escalating environmental challenges of our time. It was an honor and a great source of pride for me to serve as president of COP15 to advance in this collective fight against desertification and to carry forward the vision and ambitions of the parties you represent. Dear delegates, the COP15 held in Abidjan in 2022 marked a significant progress. Through your collective drive, we made bold decisions to strengthen our resilience against land degradation and drought, focusing on innovation, the mobilization of financing, and the involvement of local communities, particularly women and the youth. Our mandate at the helm of COP15 also reflected the vision of the President of Côte d'Ivoire, His Excellency Mr. Alassane Ouattara, and his unwavering commitment to combating the ravages of desertification while pursuing sustainable development pathways that benefit our economies and populations. In this spirit, for more than 2 years, Cote d'Ivoire has been implementing the Abidjan Legacy Program initiated by the head of state. This program addresses, through more than 112 projects, the issue of land degradation and its impact on the accelerating economic development progress in Cote d'Ivoire. The initial results are extremely encouraging, and I wish to extend my gratitude to our partners and friendly nations who have made this possible. Their support is crucial in our fight against the effects of desertification and land degradation. Among the achievements of COP15, I would also like to highlight the increased inclusion of the young people, the generations of tomorrow. They are the future, and their place is at the heart of international discussions, where their voice must be heard, and we have succeeded in creating a seat for them alongside with us. This is why, for the first time, we have appointed a special youth envoy, a strong symbolic gesture that demonstrates our commitment to young people. This development was also accompanied by the launch of an innovative awareness-raising tool, the desertification fresco, as well as the appointment of a fresco ambassadors from various regions of the world. The UNCCD Young Negotiators Program is a concrete example that illustrates our desire to involve young people in the negotiations and in building sustainable solutions for our planet. Ladies and gentlemen, throughout our mandate, we have remained optimistic. The progress made promising. However, the situation remains urgent. We must go further and faster today. We found ourselves caught in a vicious cycle that we must break. We can only achieve this if we move beyond the silos that hinder our collective action, and if we adopt a holistic approach that recognizes the constant interaction between desertification, biodiversity loss, and the acceleration of climate change. In this context, I wish to reiterate the call made by African countries during the 10th extraordinary session of the African Ministerial Conference of the Environment. This call advocates for the establishment of a legally binding protocol on drought management and resilience building under the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, specifically for countries severely affected by drought and desertification, particularly in Africa. Given the urgency of the situation, I hope that the stronger collaboration initiated between the presidencies of the three COPs will continue. Indeed, we have succeeded in consolidating the indispensable synergy between the three Rio Conventions by signing two joint declarations. Regarding public awareness and political advocacy related to land degradation, we have succeeded in attracting the attention of leaders, notably through the creation of the desertification fresco card game. We have paved the way. It is now up to you to act collectively, but also to achieve better coordination and coherence of national policies to combat drought. Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, at this solemn moment, it is time to hand over the baton to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is hosting COP16. To our Saudi brothers, You have our full support in carrying this mission forward to new milestones. We have no doubt in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's ability to elevate our shared legacy even further, as it stands at the forefront of challenges related to land degradation, sandstorms, and drought. COP16 will provide an opportunity to deepen the efforts initiated here, intensify international cooperation, and address climate, ecological, and soil preservation challenges with strength and unity. We have laid a solid foundation, and these commitments will require rigorous follow-up and active implementation in every country. This work begins now and must continue with even greater determination, as every effort, every action, and every initiative counts. We have both the opportunity and the responsibility to protect our lands, restore those that are degraded, and ensure that everyone, wherever they may be, can enjoy the benefits of a healthy and productive environment. Together with determination, solidarity, and responsibility, we will continue to work for the well-being of our planet and its inhabitants, so that we may leave to our children and grandchildren a world where the land thrives and sustains life. Thank you all for your commitment and dedication. On behalf of the President of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire, His Excellency Mr. Alassane Ouattara, I thank you all for the trust placed in Cote d'Ivoire during these years of leadership at the for the COP15 presidency. Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I now invite the Conference of the Parties to consider item 1A of the provisional agenda for the session in order to proceed to the election of the President of the 16th session. I understand that there is a general agreement among the parties to elect His Excellency Abdul Rahman Abdul Mohsen Al Fadley, Minister of Environment, Water and Agriculture of Saudi Arabia, to the position of President of the 16th session of the Conference of the Parties. May I take it that the conference wishes to elect His Excellency Abdul Rahman Abdul Mohsen Al Fadley of Saudi Arabia as President of the 16th session of the Conference of the Parties? I can hear no objection. Do you? None. It is so decided. On behalf of the conference, I wish to congratulate His Excellency Abdul Rahman Abdul Mohsen Al Fadley on his election and invite him to take his seat at the podium.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أصحاب المعالي.
In the name of Allah, dear participants, I am honored to have been elected president of the 16th COP of the UNCCD. And I wish to express now, I will now deliver my statement in my capacity as president of COP16. In the name of God, in the name of Allah. In the name of Allah, may the peace and prayers be upon the Prophet. Excellencies, Your Excellency, Under Secretary General of the UN, ladies and gentlemen, heads of delegations, member of delegation, may God's peace and blessings be upon you all. It is my pleasure to welcome you all in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the opening ceremony of COP16 of the UNCCD. And we look forward to this conference, especially that it is of great interest to His Majesty, the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, and His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. We look forward to intensifying action under this convention in order to face the challenges and promote integration between various international environment organizations, conventions, namely the Rio on biodiversity and climate change, in order to achieve ambitious outcomes, in order to limit land degradation, reduce drought, and to achieve the humanity and the welfare of humanity all over the world. We would like to express our gratitude to the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire for its presidency of COP15, and also our gratitude to the Convention's Bureau and Secretariat for their effective implementation of the convention during the previous period. We would like also to thank all member states, international, regional organizations, as well as CSOs taking part in this session. Our agenda for this session includes many important topics related to land degradation, drought, and desertification, which reiterates the importance of working on the UNCCD strategic framework for the period 2018 to 2030, as well as supporting the proposed approach and methodology in order to implement the strategic framework so that we can increase our resilience in the face of challenges that are faced by various regions of the world in terms of land degradation, drought, and desertification. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as it hosts this session, expresses its interest in preserving environment at the national, regional, and international level. The Middle East is one of the regions of the world that is most impacted by land degradation, drought, and desertification, and we seek to face environment challenges in partnership with the international community. That's why Vision 2030, aimed at protecting environment, limiting land degradation, combating desertification, as our utmost priority, because protecting the environment and natural resources is essential in achieving sustainable development and quality of life. And in order to achieve these goals, we adopted the National Environment Strategy, and we established a fund for the environment, as well as 5 ad hoc centers for environment, namely the National Center for Vegetation Covered and Combating Desertification. We have also updated our environmental regulations in line with international standards. We have established initiatives, programs, and plans to promote commitment to environment regulations, to limit pollution, to develop vegetation cover and wildlife, as well as improving waste management, meteorological services, and other researches. Saudi Green Initiative aims at the restoration of 40 million hectares of degraded land to increase national reserves by 30% in 2030. This goal was launched by Saudi Arabia in 2021, 1 year before the global goal at the end of 2022 in Montreal. We also work on increasing renewable energy to constitute more than 50% of the energy mix in Saudi Arabia by 2030, reducing carbon emissions. And we also have a national strategy for water in order to preserve water resources and their sustainability. And we have implemented many initiatives in order to ensure water recycling. And to achieve sustainability of water and the environment. We're also working on a national strategy for agriculture in order to promote agriculture and sustainable management of arable lands, as well as a national food security strategy in order to limit food waste by 50%. Dear participants, international reports show the degradation of more than 100 million hectares of agricultural land, forest, and grasslands by every year. And this has an impact on more than 3 billion persons around the world. And this will lead to a loss of $6 trillion per year, in addition to losses in biodiversity and climate change. And this will have an impact on essential components of our lives, namely water, air, and food. And this has an impact on more than 1.8 billion people. This will increase levels of migration, stability, and security among many communities. That's why we need to increase international levels at all levels in order to face these international challenges. The UNCCD is a framework for collective action and cooperation between our countries, and this requires us to observe policies to achieve the goals in order to restore our land, to invest in increasing vegetation cover, innovating in sustainable solutions, cooperating to transfer experiences and techniques, and to adopt programs and initiatives to promote the partnership between governments, public sector, CSOs, finance institutions, NGOs, and to agree on binding tools that promote international joint action. We are optimistic that such efforts will open the way for a new era to preserve our land, to restore it, to limit the impact of drought. And this is not limited to the goals of this convention alone, but will also have a positive impact on climate change and biodiversity, and increase security of water, of food, and quality of life for human communities. We welcome you again, and we wish you a nice day in our country. And we look forward to your effective and constructive participation in this session. This COP will be a historic period of the development of our convention in order to limit land degradation, to limit drought all over the world, in order to secure a sustainable future to the present and future generations. Thank you, and may God's peace and blessings be upon you all.
يسرني الآن أن أدعو صاحب السمو الأمير الدكتور فيصل بن عبد العزيز بن محمد بن عياف أمير منطقة الرياض إلى إلقاء الكلمة الترحيبية. صاحب السمو والكلمة لكم الآن.
أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، الحضور الكريم، السلام.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you and I invoke God's blessings. Today, I am here before you in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, not just as the mayor of Riyadh, but as a representative of a country that is proud to have taken up one of the greatest challenges today, namely desertification and drought. These are interlinked phenomena which constitute a challenge for our communities, particularly for the most vulnerable communities. And indeed, these are challenges that affect economic, social, and environmental performance, in particular in the context of rapid industrialization and urbanization. And I'd like to welcome you all to Riyadh to the opening of COP16 of the UN Convention on Combating Desertification. We are united in a common mission to promote this fight against desertification and drought. This is crucial for the survival of our planet. These are environmental challenges that can be addressed only if we focus on the vital role played by local administrations, city administrations. Cities are not just addressing the environmental challenges. Cities help us to find innovative solutions. And so we must work at the local level, because this can lead us to genuinely transformative national strategies with specific approaches for cities. Urbanization is a fact of life today. It is also a motivation to transform. Cities are at the center of culture, of civilization, of industry and innovation. Cities are the base of economies and states. Cities lead us, pave the road to development. And so we must promote sustainability. But the question is how to build a balance between urbanization and the environmental needs before us. Riyadh means green space in Arabic, and the choice of this venue shows that we want this region to remain green. Acting on the instructions of His Majesty King Salman bin Abdulaziz and the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, we have considered Riyadh to be a pioneer city, and we are proud of the work that we are carrying out as part of the Saudi Arabia Green Initiative. This is the cornerstone of our policy in environmental sustainability, and we are working to expand our green spaces to include the environment in our urban fabric. So we are pursuing initiatives here in Riyadh because we are aware that environmental issues are not the issue of any one stakeholder, but are a collective issue that requires collective efforts. The partnership which we have built allows us to guarantee complementarity in the role of all the different stakeholders coming together. The national policies are drafted in common, and their implementation takes into account the population's needs. Sustainable development strategies here in Riyadh take a concrete form in the vision that we have to advance sustainability in our city and to promote the environment. We are coordinating all aspects in our initiatives, and this shows our commitment to move forward and to ensure that Riyadh can be a model to follow, not just for our region, but for the world. Through our efforts, we are ensuring that sustainability is not a choice, but a necessity, given the challenges that we face. Complementarity between the national and the local efforts allows us to have a genuine impact on the environment. Our strategy encompasses many different policies, projects, programs, all with the goal of protecting our city's environments and developing its resources. And this is translated into major projects such as the Green Riyadh project and the Hanifa Valley Regeneration Project and other projects in our city. And all of this shows how the environment can be complementary to development. Also, we are working to create more green spaces, more parks, to promote reforestation. through the plant nurseries that we've established. We are facing this challenge of desertification and drought, and we believe firmly that no country can address these challenges alone, no city can address these challenges alone. And so we must promote international cooperation through exchanging experience, through collective work. We can find innovative solutions to restore our land and to develop our cities. In conclusion, I would like to wish you every success for COP16. This is not just an opportunity to address collective challenges, but also a means to promote our work for the future. On behalf of Saudi Arabia, I would like to welcome you. We are going to work together for a better future. We are pleased to welcome you to COP16 of the UNCCD here in Riyadh. Thank you.
أشكر سمو أمين منطقة الرياض على كلمته وأدعوكم له.
May I thank the Mayor of Riyadh and give the floor to the Deputy SG Amina Mohammed of the United Nations. You have the floor, ma'am.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, friends, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I thank the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for hosting this crucial gathering. Thank you, my brother, my friend, Ibrahim Thiaw, the Executive Secretary of the UNCCD, for your outstanding leadership. COP16 marks 30 years of the Convention to Combat Desertification. Yet, never before have so many people been affected by land degradation and drought. 40% of fertile land is now degraded, and the results are dire. Rising inequalities, people hungry, people displaced, livelihoods and businesses threatened, environments destroyed, and the foundation of peace, stability, and security rocked. On the current basis of current trends, by 2050, 3 in 4 people will be affected by drought worldwide. But you are in Riyadh to turn the tide. I urge you to focus on 3 priorities. First, strengthen international cooperation on land degradation and restoration. This is in all our interests. No region, no biome, no nation is immune to drought. Ending degradation and boosting restoration requires good governance, regulatory policies, early warning systems, and action across sectors. This COP can drive these efforts forward, reinforcing dialogues, addressing data gaps, and jump-starting collaborative implementation of the Convention with regular progress reviews that span sectors. The Riyadh Global Drought Resilience Partnership, led by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, is a welcome step in the right direction. It will support 80 of the world's most vulnerable nations to build drought resilience, including by leveraging finance for critical areas. Now we need a clear roadmap to champion drought resilience and land restoration at scale and speed. Second, I urge this COP to ramp up restoration. We have a reservoir of 1.5 billion hectares of degraded land that can be rehabilitated, cared for, and put back into production. The benefits are numerous. Land restoration is a solution to many sustainable development priorities. It can tackle poverty and hunger and help secure fresh water for all. It acts as a social and economic safety net, and it can generate millions of green jobs for our young people. And it is an immense economic opportunity. Every dollar invested can generate up to $30 in return. Restoring over 1 billion hectares is projected to generate up to $1.8 trillion annually. But we need clear investment strategies that unleash the full benefits of land restoration and ensure they are equitably distributed to all. And third, I urge you to prioritize the mass mobilization of finance to scale up these investments. Cumulative investments must total $2.6 trillion by 2030. That is what the world spent on defense in 2023 alone. To date, only 18% of these investments have been realized. We need a step change in finance, and we need those responsible for damage to pay for repairs. Today, private enterprise are leading causes of degradation, particularly agriculture, mining, and cotton production. But taxpayers heal the wounds. Domestic resources account for almost 3/4 of land restoration investment. The private sector represents just 6%. Every land user, big or small, should invest in their land to ensure their business remains sustainable. Governments must end subsidies that incentivize harming land and replace them with measures to encourage land-positive investments. Development assistance investments must scale up support to combat desertification, land degradation, and drought. Excellencies, land sustains us, and we are destroying it. Action cannot wait. I count on you all together in solidarity to take the chance you have in Riyadh to deliver a successful COP for peace, for prosperity, and for the planet. I thank you.
أشكر معالي نائبة الأمين العام للأمم المتحدة. الآن أدعو
I would like to thank the Deputy SG of the United Nations and give the floor to the Executive Secretary of the CCD. You have the floor, sir.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President of the Conference of the Parties, Your Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Saudi Arabia. Ahlan wa salam wa marhaba. Saudi Arabia is a land where hospitality and generosity are not just traditions, but are a way of life, deeply anchored in society and culture down through history. Like the date palm that stands tall against the winds and the sand waves of the deserts, offering its fruit to all who draw near. The Saudis are known for their open hearts and their unvarying kindness. And what of the camel? As we mark this International Year of the Camelids, the camel, which endures the harshest desert conditions, a symbol par excellence of resilience and perseverance. Here, hospitality has endured down through the ages, welcoming guests from around the world with warmth and respect. The act of offering dates with Arab Cafe is a way of making you feel at home, sharing with you not just food, but also a piece of heritage and national pride. I know that you will share my experience and that you will feel at home here during your stay in Saudi Arabia. Mr. President, our planet has become sick through land degradation. Close to 40% of its surface is now affected. This disease is progressing at a terrifying pace. Every year, healthy lands of the size of Egypt are affected. As the planet's immunity falls, opportunist viruses are causing an unprecedented epidemic cocktail of drought, of dust and sandstorms, water shortages, all exacerbated by climate change and biodiversity loss. This picture, bleak though it may seem, could also be seen as a glass that's half full rather than a glass half empty. Because we do have vaccines, we do have accessible treatment tools that are affordable.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this is not just the third and final COP under my tenure. It is a pivotal moment. Over the years, we have seen land restoration emerge as one of the most effective tools to address some of the greatest challenges of our time: climate change, food insecurity, economic inequality, forced migration, and even global instability. Together, we have established Together, we have accomplished a lot. However, our work is far from finished. Indeed, scientific evidence is unambiguous. The way we manage our land today will directly determine the future of life on Earth. Land restoration is first and foremost about securing the foundation of our economy, security, and humanity. In this regard, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for its vision and leadership in elevating the global land restoration and drought resilience agenda. Whether through the G20, hosting this landmark COP and building its legacy, or the Saudi Green Initiative, or again, most recently, the Middle East Green Initiative. The UNCCD call to address desertification, land degradation, and drought is no longer a whisper. It is being recognized at the highest levels of global decision-making, signaling a global recognition of its transformative power. We have seen how the land and drought agendas have been at the core of important discussions, not only at the UN General Assembly, but also at the G20, the G7, the BRICS, the World Economic Forum, and the Arab Coordination Group, to name just a few. Major large-scale land restoration and drought initiatives such as the Great Green Wall in Africa, the G20 Global Land Restoration Initiative, the International Drought Resilience Alliance have built their approaches on the foundations laid by the UNCCD parties. We are glad to note the powerful impacts of our COPs, both in India, under the initiative of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to restore 26 million hectares, and in Cote d'Ivoire, with the Abidjan Legacy Program of President Alassane Ouattara, costed at $3 billion. We welcome and applaud the important Saudi-led legacy of COP16 that will be unveiled today and tomorrow. These efforts have generated political momentum and a broader understanding that addressing land degradation goes beyond ecology. Land restoration is primarily about nurturing humanity itself. And that is what COP16 is all about. I recall visiting the haunting expanses of the Aral Sea, once the world's fourth largest freshwater lake, shared by Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. Standing here, where life was once flourished, I saw a barren wasteland, an environmental disaster of unimaginable scale. It was a poignant reminder of what is at stake. Every second, somewhere in the world, we lose an equivalent of 4 football fields to land degradation. Land and soil loss are robbing poor families of nutritious food and children of safe future. Land degradation aggravates poverty, disrupts food security, impacts health, and even forces families to migrate. It is the land and soil beneath our feet that grows the cotton for the clothes we wear, secure the food on our plates, and anchors the economies we rely on. The cost of land degradation seeps in every corner of their lives. They see the rising prices of groceries and unexpected energy surcharges, and in the growing strain on their communities. I have spoken to farmers, mothers, and young people who are living this reality every day. Their resilience is inspiring, but their struggles remind us that land degradation and drought do not recognize borders. Power blackouts multiply as dams go dry due to drought. Nuclear plants in Europe have struggled to stay operational as rivers dry up. Global supply chains falter in the Panama Canal due to insufficient water, or in the Suez Canal when sand and dust storms make navigation difficult. By 2050, 3 in 4 people globally an estimated 7.5 billion people will feel the impact of drought. The stories I have heard and the places I have seen make one thing clear. We must act now to restore our lands. They are the foundation on our everything. For the first time, through the UNCCD national reporting, we now have an evidence-based estimate of the alarming status and trends in land degradation. According to the UNCCD data, in the 4 years to 2019, healthy land, the size of India and Nigeria combined, was affected by land degradation. Agriculture, overgrazing, urbanization, mining, deforestation, and other factors are driving this decline, compounded by climate change. But a deeper injustice and inequalities exist. Those who farm often do not own the land. Women only own 13% of agricultural land. 13%, I said, 1/3 of agricultural land, for example. When they do own, it is often a marginal land. Those who produce are often at the very bottom of global value chains and rarely benefit from them. Rural communities are being left behind, while the wealth created from their labor often fills someone else's basket. So COP16 is our reliance on land, but it is also about resilience. COP16 is specifically about drought resilience. Multiple articles of the convention text refer to drought. The last 7 COPs have had decisions related to drought, and COP16 will hopefully be remembered as the conference where the most important decisions on drought were made. We are all gathered here to make COP16 a historic moment. The world expects parties to adopt a bold decision that can help turn the tide on the most pervasive and the most disruptive environmental disaster. Drought is a slow onset, a silent killer. Drought wreaks havoc on nations' economies. It provokes or amplifies massive wildfires. It disrupts food production and water security. Drought disrupts energy production, both hydro and nuclear, 2 low carbon sources. Droughts have become more frequent, more intense, and have expanded into new territories. No country is immune. No biome is spared, not even tropical and boreal forests. So after 30 years of deliberations, including 6 consecutive years of intergovernmental working groups, all eyes are on us. This is a lot of pressure, but we must seize the pivotal moment. Together, we can reverse the trends of land degradation and build a more resilient world to drought. Together, we can make a real difference in people's lives. Together, we can unlock the true potential of our land and protect our planet, our home. Mr. President, before I conclude, allow me to express UNCCD's deep gratitude to the outgoing president from Cote d'Ivoire for not only hosting us in Abidjan in 2022, but for successfully leading the COP Bureau for the last 2.5 years. While negotiations at COP16 are led by governments, I want to pay tribute to members of civil society, other non-state actors, including business, for their unprecedented contributions and participation. Allow me to also express my gratitude to the UN family. Thank you for your unwavering support. My gratitude goes to all executives of UN agencies and treaties, to international organizations and intergovernmental organizations, academia, financial institutions who have played a key role in helping design and run the thematic days of this COP. To all exhibitors in beautiful pavilions and all who populated the most beautiful green zone I have ever seen, to all invisible hands who spent endless hours to make this conference happen, I only have one word: shukran. بالنسبة لبلدنا المضيف شكرا.
For the host country, I would like to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. May I thank the King and the people. Accept, please, our heartfelt thanks. Thank you, and thank you again, and thank you again for your hospitality. I thank you for your generosity. May the peace of God be upon you.
أشكر معالي الأمين التنفيذي لاتفاقية الأمم المتحدة لمكافحة التصحر.
I thank the Executive Secretary of the Convention for his statement. We shall now hear the introductory statements, opening statements, beginning with the statement by the Prime Minister of Mongolia, who is the host of COP17.
At the outset, I would like to thank the United Nations, Mr. President, as well as the presidents of COP16, COP17, and all the distinguished guests and delegates who have gathered here from all over the world in unity to protect our Mother Earth from climate change and desertification. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. At the outset, I would like to underscore that it is an honor for Mongolia to take over the responsible relay of the host of the 17th session of the Conference of the Parties of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Indicating our commitment and attachment of high significance to the organization of the conference, as the head of government, I am participating in this conference along with members of our preparatory working group. I am delighted to visit the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, a country with a centuries-old rich history, for the first time as the Prime Minister of Mongolia. Our nation is renowned for its empire history, ancient nomadic civilization, clear blue skies where mighty falcons race their speed, and vast green steppes where swift horses race their power. In this regard, Mongolia is close to the Gulf countries in terms of customs and traditional mindset. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, representative of the great leaders of the new era, who is setting an example internationally through his noble deeds, such as Saudi Vision 2030, the Saudi and the Middle East Green Initiatives, and MISC Foundation for Youth Development, as well as to his government for successfully hosting the 16th session of the Conference of the Parties of the UN Convention to Combat Desertification. Ladies and gentlemen, climate change and desertification impact every country and our citizens' daily lives. According to the United Nations, the frequency of natural disasters in Mongolia has doubled over the past 2 decades. To name just one example, last winter we witnessed the heaviest snowfall Mongolia has experienced in the past 50 years, triggering harsh drought that killed millions of livestock of our herders who live in close harmony with our Mother Earth. And the previous summer saw severe floods in over 50 years. This has a great impact on the livelihoods of our citizens, and we notice and experience such cases daily in every country in the world. Indeed, land is the future. Hence, this conference is being held under the theme, Our Land, Our Future. I truly commend and agree with the statement of this conference, but it is very important for us to understand and remind us that we need to work even closer to address the challenges of our time. And the current situation warned us to stand for each other, to safeguard our land, which is the future of humanity. In other words, it is very important for us to stand for each other and support each other and work even closer. Especially, I would like to mention the pandemic, which has warned us the important time that we have to stand together. Therefore, I call for convening the next conference under the spirit of one for all for one. It is a spirit of enhancing cooperation and support integrity among other nations. Mongolia also proposes an initiative to establish a global coalition for future rangelands and pastoralists during the 17th session of the Conference of the Parties to the UN Convention to Combat Desertification. I believe you will discuss in detail about this initiative during this COP. I wish to take this opportunity to express gratitude for your support of the UN General Assembly resolution declaring 2026 the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralists. Honorable guests and delegates, with the view to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, the Government of Mongolia aligns its activities and collaborates in close partnership with international organizations and other countries on climate action and affordable and clean energy. Hence, we have newly established the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. We are implementing the Billion Trees National Movement at the initiative of the President of Mongolia. Since its launch, 84 million trees have been planted, bringing the number of seedlings to 63 million, which is considered a good practice among other nations. Moreover, Mongolia has joined the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People, which aims to designate 30% of the land as protected areas by 2030 to combat desertification and create a comprehensive forest ecosystem. Currently, 21% of Mongolia's land mass is under national protection, and we aim to increase this number step by step. Mongolia has always paid special attention to wildlife conservation and traditional nomadic pastoralism. I am pleased to note that initiatives such as responsible nomads and sustainable Kashmir implemented within this policy are commended internationally. We are also working to carry on comprehensive reforms to support green solutions and investments and introduce green banks and green financing schemes to support the green transition. In this framework, we have launched a project finance for permanence called Eternal Mongolia in collaboration with international nature conservation organizations. I also wish to inform you that we have agreed with the government of the People's Republic of China to establish the Mongolia-China Desertification Prevention and Control Cooperation Center in Ulaanbaatar. Furthermore, it is extremely important to implement large-scale clean energy projects to reduce the impact of climate change and carbon emissions. We praise projects like NEOM and Masdar implemented in the Gulf countries. Mongolia also prioritizes the transition to clean energy and energy price liberalization, and has begun to realize major reforms in the investment and tax environment to promote clean energy production. In this regard, we invite governments, investors, wealth funds, and the private sector to cooperate with us in these projects for mutual benefit, especially in supporting Mongolia's renewable energy transition. Ladies and gentlemen, in Mongolia, July is an excellent time when we celebrate our Naadam festival. During this time, we also organize the annual Mongolia Economic Forum right after the Naadam festival. Taking this opportunity, I invite you to Mongolia to enjoy our Naadam, a symbol of the conservation of pristine nature and living in close harmony with Mother Earth, and participate in the Economic Forum. I wish the 16th session of the Conference of the Parties of the UN Convention to Combat Desertification great success. Dear guests and delegates, I invite you to attend COP17 in 2026. Let us reunite in Mongolia, the land of the eternal blue sky. Thank you very much.
أشكر معالي رئيس وزراء جمهورية منغوليا على بيانه. الآن أدعو
I would like to thank the Prime Minister of Mongolia for his statement, and I now give the floor to Professor Rockstrom.
Your Excellencies, heads of the delegation, colleagues, friends of planet Earth, I will give you a scientific update which first and foremost summarizes as follows. For the first time in human history on planet Earth, we scientifically are forced to consider the following risk. We are currently halfway through the decisive decade that very likely will determine the future of humanity for many generations into the future, unless we bend the curves and start truly transforming back within a safe operating space of a resilient and healthy planet. We are today finding overwhelming scientific evidence that we are at risk of destabilizing, of losing resilience and undermining life support at the planetary scale. Now, this is based on overwhelming scientific evidence. The latest finding shows we're following a pathway that will take us to over 3 degrees Celsius of global mean surface temperature rise already by the end of this century. Dear colleagues, this is a path to disaster. It's a place we haven't seen on planet Earth over the past 4 million years. And moreover, the most focus is on phasing out fossil fuels for a safe landing in a decarbonized world economy. But we today know scientifically that that will not be enough. Land is the fundamental determinant of the resilience of the entire planet. We therefore know today that decarbonizing the energy system must be simultaneously moved very decisively with being stewards of sustainable land systems. And as has been pointed out several times already this morning, we are on a very dangerous path. 15 million square kilometers of land have already been lost to land degradation. That's an area equivalent to the largest continent on planet Earth, Antarctica. We're losing 1 million square kilometers of healthy land each year. And remember this, scientifically we know today that managed land is actually a source of greenhouse gases. The single largest economic sector emitting greenhouse gases, 23%. But intact land that we manage, ecosystems that are what we can today define as intact nature, roughly 50% of the land surface, is actually still a carbon sink. So remarkably, land is moving in the wrong direction, but at the same time, we know that land can be our savior and can be a fundamental part of the solution. So that's the juncture we've reached. We also know that degrading land is connected directly to so much of the extreme impacts that today is impacting millions of people through droughts, floods, heat waves, fires, all the extreme events we today know not only are caused by us humans, but also are occurring more frequently and are more severe, are connected with land. Therefore, we need to understand that when we talk about the hockey stick of rising temperatures on Earth, now touching for the first time 1.5 degrees Celsius, which as we know is the sister convention of the UNCCD, the limit that we've agreed to hold, that the only way to hold it is actually to also manage land. Now, therefore, the conclusion, what science is trying to communicate to the world today, is that land is no longer something that is only the basis for livelihoods, for prosperity, for human well-being. It's also a component for drought resilience, for the health of the entire Earth system. It regulates systems like climate stability, biodiversity and health ecosystems, and freshwater supply. It is therefore about planetary health as well as human health. But it's also, as we all know, serves as the foundation for food security, for clean water, and for shelter for all humans. And here we have what I would argue to be the integrating guideline for our future towards a safe operating space for humanity, which you see here in green. We have scientifically identified the 9 planetary boundary systems, the big environmental biophysical system that regulates the health, the stability, the resilience of the entire planet. To put it simple, we have to stay within the safe operating space for these 9 environmental processes to have the chance of a livable future for all future generations on Earth. Land is one of them, but land is connected to 7 of these 9 planetary boundaries. It's connected to climate change, to biodiversity, to the bloodstream of the entire planet, the hydrological cycle, the freshwater cycle. Without land, you don't have stable flows of fresh water in groundwater, in lakes, and soil moisture feeding the entire photosynthesis. But it's also linked to the cycles of nitrogen and phosphorus. And it's also linked to air pollutants and novel entities, chemical loading in the biosphere. As you see from this graph, in the latest 2023 update on the health of the entire planet, 6 of these 9 are outside of the safe operating space. Several of them, as you see, are in the red danger zone. What does this mean? It means that we're approaching a point when we cannot exclude crossing tipping points, causing irreversible changes. The message here in Riyadh is the following. All these 6 are connected to land. You cannot get back into the safe space on climate, biodiversity, fresh water, nitrogen, phosphorus without a sustainable, transformative pathway on land. So this is the charge here in Riyadh. That is why we today launched a scientific report, a special report commissioned by the UNCCD on land and pathways towards a safe landing for the whole land sector, building drought resilience, building more sustainable social ecological pathways for land. It requires transformative action, but it also requires taking for the first time, placing land from the local all the way to the global scale. I invite you to the special session we have on this report on Wednesday this week. Here is one example of the finding. We've placed the biggest biomes on planet Earth, which are the big forest biomes, which are fundamental not only for biodiversity, for livelihoods, but also for regulating the climate system. And what you see here is in yellow, the forest systems that are in a danger zone. You see the Amazon basin here. You see those systems that are in a high-risk zone. You see the Congo basin. But look also at the temperate forest in Canada. This is something that we're all totally integrated with, and there's no one that we can leave behind on any part of the planet. And I call these today the planetary commons. Land has become a global commons. We all depend collectively on stable land systems. You cannot push land into one domestic domain and think that you can lock yourself out in another corner of the planet. We all depend on each other. We've been mapping the role of land in terms of carbon sequestration, in terms of water regulation, in terms of habitat creation, in terms of nutrient recycling, and mapped for each of these what are the causes behind breaching these safe boundaries. And many of these practices, you all know, it's about unsustainable land management in agriculture, it's about unsustainable infrastructure expansion, it's about overuse of pesticides, overloading of nutrients. These are manageable transitions that can take us back towards healthy land systems. And there's so much at stake. We have science today showing that 50% of the rainfall on land is actually not coming from the ocean, it comes from sustainable land systems. It's green water evaporating from forest systems, from land systems, that generates atmospheric rivers that gives us rainfall downwind. The map you see on the lower left-hand corner here shows for the first time the atmospheric rivers across all land systems on Earth. Just to give you one example, in the Amazon basin is actually exporting fresh water, safe fresh water, to essentially all the neighboring countries on the South American continent. Again, we're all interconnected, in this case via fresh water, but through land. 11 gigatons of carbon dioxide is taken up in intact land systems each year, but you see my warning triangle there. We have the first signs of losing this carbon sequestration capacity. Actually, 20% of carbon uptake capacity on land has been lost since 2015. This is dramatic. This is 25% of our emissions of greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide from fossil fuel burning, is actually buffered from intact, healthy land. And we're destroying that resilience capability. And remember that just in the top 1 meters of soil, you have massive stores of carbon, 1,700 gigatons of carbon, which is more than twice as much carbon than the carbon we have in the atmosphere causing the climate crisis we're in. So what we're talking about here is transformative actions to halt this dangerous path. We're talking about integrated effort where we now have an opportunity to invest in land as part of water security, climate stability, and building social ecological resilience. The UNCCD agenda is at the heart of all these proof points for success into the future. But we need, as incoming COP president also emphasized, regulatory frameworks. Policies that are evidence-based, science bringing forward, policies that can take us in the right direction. Now it's also about equity. You see here we have transgressed 6 of the 9 planetary boundaries linked to land, but the only way to get back is not through technocratic policies only. We also need equity, fairness, and recognizing that there's a very unfair distribution of the impacts from the global environmental change processes we're following. So, dear colleagues, as a closing takeaway, number 1, land is science-proven central to people, but also to the stability and health and livability of the planet. And this is now under threat. Investing in sustainable land use is critical not only to combat land degradation, but it's also fundamental for economic stability. It's fundamental to avoid displacement, migration, and potentially also conflicts. It is fundamental for stability of societal development. It's fundamental for climate stability and food security. And finally, functioning science policy interface is fundamental. It's absolutely needed, and that is, of course, on the agenda for COP16 here in Riyadh. So I wish you good luck with these deliberations, And I really hope that we can have some science-based policymaking in this area. Thank you very much.
أشكر البروفيسور يوهان.
I would like to thank Professor Rockstrom for his report, and it is my pleasure now to announce the Riyadh Global Drought Resilience Partnership, and it is also my pleasure as a president of the COP to deliver a statement on this occasion.
Parched fields of Africa to the drying rivers in Asia, the drought crisis touches every corner of the earth. It doesn't care who you are or where you live. It affects us all. Right now, 1 in 4 people live without reliable access to water. That's families struggling to find enough to drink, and communities watching their crops wither. We are losing more than just land. We are losing life itself. And the hardest hit, the world's most vulnerable, 1.8 billion people already living in the shadow of drought, with women and children bearing the brunt of climate-fueled disasters. By 2040, almost 160 million children will be living in a world where prolonged droughts are the norm. Already, the impact is dire. Drought is a driving force behind global instability, conflict, and migration. The number of forcibly displaced people is soaring at an alarming rate, reaching 120 million people in 2024. The current drought response is largely reactive, providing relief only after disaster strikes. Strategic drought preparedness is not just an option, it's essential. In the face of this global emergency, Saudi Arabia is stepping forward, but no single country can solve this crisis alone. The Kingdom is launching the Riyadh Global Drought Resilience Partnership, a transformative initiative uniting nations, communities, and sectors in a global fight against drought. This partnership is building drought resilience in the 80 most vulnerable countries, shifting from reactive relief after drought hits to proactive preparedness long before it occurs. This means strengthening early warning systems, assessing vulnerabilities, and mitigating risks. For every dollar we invest in proactive readiness now, we save 10 in future costs. The Riyadh Global Drought Resilience Partnership will work with governments to integrate drought planning into national policies, with local authorities and NGOs to deliver timely early warnings to communities, and equip farmers and vulnerable groups through drought preparedness training, with research organizations to develop drought-resistant crops, and with financial institutions to provide drought insurance and invest in water infrastructure. Through these collaborative efforts, the Riyadh Global Drought Resilience Partnership aims to minimize the disastrous impact of drought globally. The path forward is clear. Our world cannot wait. It is time for governments, businesses, nonprofits, financial institutions, and individuals to rise to the occasion and act for our land, for our future, for every life that hangs in the balance.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, most compassionate, most merciful, may God's peace and blessings be upon the Prophet, excellences, heads of delegations, members of delegations, dear participants, may God's peace and blessings be upon you all. It is my pleasure to announce the launching of the Riyadh Global Drought Resilience Partnership, which aims at promoting multilateral efforts to promote resilience to drought, namely in the countries most impacted by drought. It includes proactive partnerships to support the UNCCD. It is my pleasure to announce that the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia will support this initiative with the amount of $150 million in the coming 10 years. Dear participants, Drought is increasingly challenging our lives. Namely, 2 billion people are impacted by drought. The current approach is based on post-recovery by supporting the local communities. Our Riyadh Global Partnership aims at promoting partnership between countries, organizations, and relevant stakeholders for the sake of a preventive approach, proactive approach, by implementing strategies and plans to face drought in a comprehensive manner, by assessing risks, early warning systems, transfer of knowledge, and increasing capacities by innovative solutions based on agriculture, such as drought-resilient crops, and providing financing for the infrastructure in terms of water, risk, also helping small farmers to counter such challenges. All this aims at increasing resilience and limiting the economic and environmental and social impact of drought. Announcing and declaring this Riyadh Global Drought Resilience Partnership is based on our conviction that we need to promote efforts at all levels in order to face drought. Land degradation. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has adopted modern and accelerated steps in this context at the national, regional, and international levels. We have adopted the National Strategy for the Environment, Green Saudi Environment, Middle East Green Environment, as well as the G20 Global Land Initiative. We also work on promoting international cooperation in the field of water resources, and we have established the International Water Institution. I would like to thank all the partners that supported this global Riyadh partnership so that we can increase our resilience to drought, namely the Secretariat of the UNCCD and the Arab Coordination Group, the UN Environment Programme, the World Economic Forum, and I invite all countries, organizations, and stakeholders to join this international initiative so that we can increase our common capacity to be resilient in the face of drought as per the goals of the UNCCD, and to have a positive impact on the lives of billions of people all around the world. May God's peace and blessings be upon you all.
نستمع الآن معالي الدكتور محمد الجاسر رئيس البنك الإسلامي.
Now I would like to give the floor to the President of the Islamic Development Bank, who will speak on behalf of the Arab Coordination Group.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is indeed a profound honor to address you today on behalf of my esteemed colleagues, the heads of Arab Coordination Group member institutions. At the outset, I would like to congratulate the COP presidency, led by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia through His Excellency Abdurrahman Abdul Muhsin Al Fadli, and the UNCCD Secretariat, led by the Executive Secretary, Brother Ibrahim Tao, for the successful opening of this 16th Conference of the Parties here in the vibrant city of Riyadh, the capital of my beloved country. Over the next 2 weeks, we have a vital opportunity to address the escalating challenges of drought, land degradation, and desertification, issues that severely impact many of our member countries and communities around the globe. These polycrises, compounded by the interconnected threats of poverty, climate change, and loss of biodiversity, risk deepening fragility and undermining sustainable development. The Arab Coordination Group takes pride in its collaboration with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the UNCCD Secretariat over the past year in preparation for this pivotal conference. We reaffirm our commitment to this partnership, not only throughout COP16, but also in the years to come. Our focus remains on providing robust knowledge, technical expertise, and financial resources to governments, the private sector, and the local communities. We will prioritize shifting the paradigm from reactive responses to proactive resilience-building measures. Tomorrow, the Arab Coordination Group institutions will announce their collective commitment to addressing the global challenges of land degradation, desertification, and drought as integral components of their development operations. In closing, I would like to emphasize that the magnitude and urgency of these challenges demand collective action. We must unite as a global community, forging partnerships that mobilize resources and deliver meaningful impact where it is most needed. Together, we can drive a just, fair, and inclusive transition towards a sustainable future for both people and planet Earth. Let's unite in a joint fight against the dreadful 3Ds: drought, desertification, and land degradation. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أشكركم معالي الدكتور محمد رئيس البنك الإسلامي.
Thank you to Mohammed Al Jasser, President of the Islamic Development Bank.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الكلمة الآن
In the name of God, the compassionate and the merciful, I now give the floor to the representatives of the regional groups, the interest groups, and the representatives of NGOs. And I would ask them, please, to keep their statements brief. And I would now like to give the floor to the representative of Morocco on behalf of the Group of African States. You have the floor.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين السيد رئيس مؤتمر الأطراف لاتفاقية الأمم المتحدة لمحاربة التصحر.
Mr. Chairman of the Conference, COP, UNCCD, Executive Secretary of the Convention, also distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. From the outset, may I voice all my thanks to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, as well as His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman, for the warm welcome we've received and the generous hospitality extended to us. This is nothing new from Saudi Arabia. Mr. President of the Conference of the Party, may I commend you also for having been elected to chair the work of this conference. And I wish you every success in the way you oversee this work. And I will not fail to thank the Secretariat also for the efforts made to hold COP16. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, This session is entitled Our and Our Future, and this session is an opportunity to galvanize our joint efforts to build a better future for future generations. The importance of this session may come from three main points. First of all, this is the convening of the first conference of the parties in the Middle East and North Africa, a region deeply affected by desertification, land degradation, drought, and climate change. Also, we gather as we need to strengthen our economic and environmental resilience strategies at the regional and the international levels at a time when land degradation is accelerating at an alarming rate in all regions of the world. We also note the exacerbation of the problem of drought, both in terms of frequency, severity, and geographical extent. And thirdly, this session is important because there is this need to achieve sustainable development goals, including neutralizing land degradation, which is an effective tool to address climate change, to ensure food security, to reduce poverty, and to guarantee the sustainability of natural resources. This session is also important because it is being held in Saudi Arabia, which is known for its dynamism, especially with regards to drought and desertification issues. In that connection, may I underscore the huge, extraordinary efforts undertaken by Saudi Arabia in this area, and in particular through the launching of the Green Middle East and the 20th summit, the G20 rather, initiatives. Also, this new initiative designed to promote regional and international cooperation to promote green coverage, biodiversity, to combat desertification and drought, and also with this need to meet international.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, the land degradation in the previous years has led to many losses at the socio-economic levels and also posed one of the major environmental challenges. In this sense, accelerating the implementation of anti-desertification programs and implementing sustainable land management mechanisms has become an urgent need to reverse degradation and restore ecological balances. In this context, the international community is now more than ever called upon to respond to the great challenges of sustainable land management in an environment fraught with multiple constraints: climate change, scarcity of water resources, rapid population growth, and urbanization. COP is therefore an opportunity. COP16 is therefore an opportunity that must be fully utilized in order to adopt coherent and action-oriented decisions that will lead to tangible achievements on the ground. And this will help international efforts to face environmental challenges and ensure sustainability of resources. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, at the regional level, African countries attach great importance to this conference and hope that their concerns will be taken into account, namely when it comes to drought, land degradation neutrality, in addition to sand and dust storms, land tenure, and gender approach. Our countries are also concerned about the mid-period assessment of the strategic framework of the UNCCD. Drought is still an issue that did not have the attention it deserves, despite being one of the main focuses of the UNCCD since its adoption. That's why it is important to give it the strategic priority and to manage it in an effective manner. In this regard, African countries believe that the adoption of a legally binding protocol on drought under the UNCCD umbrella will be the best way to draw attention to this phenomenon and to address it in an integrated manner that includes all the central pillars, such as the legal, institutional, and governance framework, as well as financing mechanisms. When it comes to land degradation neutrality, African countries that are parties to this convention have fully committed to the land degradation neutrality target setting program. Since the adoption of this program in 2015, we have taken many steps for its practical implementation, including the preparation of transformative projects that remain subject to the mobilization of necessary financial resources to activate them. However, many challenges still stand in the way of achieving land degradation neutrality by 2030. As to the means of implementation, the financial aspect is an essential element for the implementation of the provisions of the convention. In this context, I would like to reiterate the thanks and gratitude of the African group to the financial partners for their efforts in the field of financial support for combating desertification. However, we as African countries believe that this funding falls short of the current challenges and that the pace of mobilization should be commensurate with the declared ambitions and objectives. The midterm evaluation of the UNCCD strategic framework is an opportunity to identify the positive results achieved and to work on consolidating them, as well as identifying shortcomings and ensuring that they are addressed and overcome. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, the African group wishes your conference of parties success, and we believe that your joint efforts should lead to determined actions in order to fill the gaps and in order to build a better future for our humanity. Finally, I would like to express my gratitude to the African group for putting its confidence in the Kingdom of Morocco to preside the African group for 2 COPs, and we are also hosting the regional coordination mechanism for Africa. This shows that my country is committed to the African joint action and to promoting the effective implementation of the convention at the national and regional levels based on the guidance of His Majesty King Mohammed VI. May God assist him. Thank you, Mr. President.
شكرا. والآن ندعو ممثل الاتحاد الأوروبي لإلقاء.
Thank you. I give the floor to the representative of the European Union.
Thank you very much, Honorable COP President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates and representatives. It is my great honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the European Union and its 27 member states. We would like to express our gratitude to the authorities and the people of Saudi Arabia and Riyadh for hosting the 16th session of the Conference of the Parties of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, and all the efforts made to organize this conference, which is an important milestone in our joint commitment to protect our planet and our people. This year, as we celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Convention, this Conference of the Parties must continue to foster action to conserve and restore land, promote sustainable land management, achieve land degradation neutrality, and address the challenges of drought through enhanced resilience and integrated risk management. The theme of this COP, Our Land, Our Future, underscores the pressing urgency of taking action to combat desertification, land degradation, and drought. It calls attention to the destructive impacts of unsustainable agricultural practices, deforestation, and the decline in soil health, all of which are worsened by the climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution, unsustainable natural resource management, and unsustainable consumption and production. The state of our land is intrinsically linked to the future of our planet and generations to come, making it critical that we act now to secure a sustainable and prosperous future for all. The European Union and its member states welcome the enhanced interlinked approach and would like to highlight the unique opportunity presented by the so-called Rio Trio, that is the 16th session of the COP to the Convention on Biological Diversity, the 29th session of the COP to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and the present COP, taking place back-to-back this year. It is our common interest that the three multilateral environmental agreements, without neglecting their specificities, mutually support each other. This will contribute more effectively to the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the achievement of its SDGs and addressing climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution and desertification, land degradation and drought in a synergic manner. The COP and the decisions taken will mark a significant milestone in elevating sustainable land management to its rightful place on the global political agenda and reinforcing the momentum gained. These efforts are essential for halting and reversing land degradation and desertification, tackling drought, conserving biodiversity, and addressing climate change through both mitigation and adaptation. Furthermore, they represent a cost-effective approach to achieving a green recovery and fostering sustainable development for all. As emphasized in both the second edition of the Global Land Outlook and the Economics of Land Degradation reports, investing in sustainable land management and restoration, particularly through the implementation of nature-based solutions, delivers substantial social and economic benefits. We will work with the Convention that the COP will draw significant attention from the global community to the growing challenge of drought. Drought risks are exacerbated by climate change and unsustainable land and water management practices. Unfortunately, the most valuable members of our societies are often the ones most severely affected. We look forward to the outcomes of the discussions at this COP, particularly on addressing the underlying systemic drivers of drought risks and by fostering sustainable land management for proactive drought risk management. This effort must be supported by renewed political attention at all levels and strengthened action across all sectors to enhance national capacities for monitoring and early warning systems, risk and impact assessment, mitigation, preparedness, and response. Such measures are vital to bolstering the resilience of societies, economies, and ecosystems against the impacts of drought. At the same time, we must enhance our efforts to transition away from fossil fuels and to eliminate and redirect environmentally harmful subsidies, which also have a direct effect and impact on desertification and land degradation. We expect that this COP will strengthen the integration of critical issues into UNCCD initiatives, including land tenure, to secure access and ownership rights for all, the impacts of sand and dust storms on vulnerable populations and economies, gender responsiveness, and equality to advance the implementation of the Gender Action Plan and to achieve the empowerment of all women and girls, as well as addressing migration and forced displacements driven by desertification, land degradation, and drought. The UNCCD program and actions offer comprehensive and cross-cutting solutions. We need to foster a whole-of-government, whole-of-society approach to ensure the effective implementation of the Convention. It is essential to strengthen partnerships and engage a diverse array of stakeholders, including the private sector, civil society organization, children and youth, across all levels, from community and local to regional, national, and global scales, taking into account the relevance of valorizing also the local knowledge. This is a call for us to embrace our collective responsibility in reshaping global production and consumption practices in line with Agenda 2030 that call of us to reach a sustainable world while transforming agricultural and food systems and promoting sustainable value change that positively impact ecosystems and the people who depend on them. The European Union and its member states are committed to working with their partners in our global common journey towards achieving land degradation neutrality. Our response must be effective, multilateral, and grounded in solidarity, considering and addressing the DLDD impacts on peace and security. As we address the urgent challenges of desertification, land degradation, and drought, it is essential to highlight the EU's commitment to transformative action in land management, emphasizing sustainable practices and resilience building. By striving for land degradation neutrality by 2030. We aim to restore ecosystems, enhance food and water security, and support the livelihoods of vulnerable communities, valorizing sustainable solutions, including nature-based solutions. This effort requires our collective will and innovative solutions, building on the experience on the field and driving us toward a sustainable future for all. The EU and its member states are deeply committed to collaborating with all parties and stakeholders in the fight against desertification, land degradation, and drought, and we look forward to engaging in meaningful discussions together to overcome these challenges, identify sustainable solutions, and create new opportunities to the affected peoples and communities, starting from the most affected. We are confident that the outcomes of these conversations will guide our actions and help us more effectively address the critical challenges related to achieving land degradation neutrality. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish a good work for all of us. Thank you very much.
I now give the floor to the representative of Bhutan, speaking on behalf of the Asia Pacific Group.
Mr. President, Executive Secretary, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Asia Pacific Group, it is a great honor for Bhutan, as regional chair for Annex 2, to deliver this opening statement at this 16th session of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. The Asia Pacific Group would like to begin by expressing our sincere gratitude to the people and the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for generously hosting COP16 in Riyadh, the first UNCCD COP hosted in the Middle East and North Africa region, and for raising the ambition to make it the largest and most inclusive COP to date. Annex 2 is proud to see yet another UNCCD event being hosted in our region, following COP10, COP13, and COP14, hosted by the Republic of Korea, China, and India, respectively, COP21 in Uzbekistan last year, and we also look forward for COP17, which will be hosted by Mongolia in 2026. Mr. President, our region stretches from mountains to islands, hyper-arid areas to tropical humid areas. We are one of the most densely populated and simultaneously one of the most vulnerable to the impacts of desertification, land degradation, drought, sand and dust storms, climate change, loss of biodiversity, and other related challenges. Many of our nations face significant threats that affect soil health, including severe water and land scarcity, critical soil depletion, pollution, political conflicts, and war, which affect livelihoods, food security, and sustainable development. Addressing these challenges requires collaboration, cooperation, and shared responsibility, which underscores the vital role of the Asia Pacific Group within the UNCCD. United by these common issues and in partnership with other parties, we reaffirm our commitment to work towards achieving land degradation neutrality, building the resilience of communities and ecosystems to drought, facing climate change and biodiversity loss challenges, and securing the future of our planet and our people. We also stand ready to support the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to ensure a productive, progressive, ambitious, and successful COP16. COP16 indeed marks a pivotal milestone coinciding with the 10th anniversary of the UNCCD, a time to celebrate and reflect on our past achievements, but most importantly, it presents us with the opportunities to consolidate our commitment and accelerate action towards a land degradation neutral world. Let us use this occasion to renew our determination and drive forward with even greater momentum to meet the pressing challenges ahead. Mr. President, Excellencies, as we gather under the theme Our Land, Our Future, the agenda before us includes several critical issues of utmost importance to the Asia-Pacific Group. Desertification and land degradation remains a persistent issue threatening millions, and we look forward to robust discussions tailored to the specific context of Asia-Pacific countries to reverse this trend and achieve our LTN targets to promote sustainable land use for food security and addressing climate change and biodiversity loss. Drought is an urgent crisis growing across our territories that demands strengthened national capacities and regional collaboration to enhance proactive drought preparedness and response strategies and mechanisms. We welcome the work of the Ideology on Drought for its insightful report and policy recommendations, and invite parties to further explore new measures to effectively manage and mitigate drought. Sand and dust storms continue to be a significant hazard impacting our region and beyond, exacerbating health, agriculture, economic, and environmental challenges, making coordinated actions more essential than ever. We stress the value of learning from the work of the Ideology on midterm evaluation of the 2018 to 2030 strategic framework. As parties, we must ask ourselves what can be changed, improved, redirected in order to more effectively implement the convention, guide our priorities, and drive impact through 2030 and beyond. The UNCCD serves as our primary framework for addressing the challenges outlined above. In order to deliver on this, it is essential that we enhance its operational capacity and provide the necessary resources to be able to assist member countries in effectively planning and scaling up their efforts to meet the LTN targets where required. Mr. President, Excellencies, we also welcome the upcoming discussions on the UNCCD's program and budget, enhancing land tenure security, the land degradation migration nexus, and the need for more gender responsive policies, including men and women empowerment and youth engagement. Each of these is intrinsically connected to the challenges of desertification, land degradation, drought, sand and dust storms, requiring our collective commitment and action. Overall, achieving our restoration goals requires wider and equal access to sustainable land management technology, financial support, and additional resources. We call on the global mechanism, the Global Environment Facility, and other funding institutions to further support parties in an inclusive manner to secure and mobilize more resources for the implementation of the convention, including setting LDN national voluntary targets and making use of LDN fund and other funds to assist the unlocking financing from other financing sources. We invite all parties to support enhanced cooperation and technology sharing on a voluntary and mutually agreed basis, and regional and global levels to accelerate restoration efforts and promote sustainable land management across the region. In this regard, we also highlight the importance of partnership initiatives such as the Changwon Initiative, G20 Global Land Initiative, and the Peace Forest Initiative, including initiatives under the UNFCCC and UNCCD that support the implementation of our convention, including with the private sector. Mr. President, Excellencies, we have a comprehensive and ambitious agenda before us. We commend the Secretariat and the UNCCD-related bodies for their efforts over the past decade to expand the convention's scope and integrate new topics. Thanks to their work, this convention has become more holistic and responsive and enables greater stakeholder engagement. We are mindful that the Secretariat can only function effectively with appropriate resources, and this is possible through a balanced budget and work program. We encourage COP16 to engage in budget discussions that lead to cost-effective decisions to help improve the delivery of the UNCCD's vital work program. As we look toward COP17 in Mongolia, it is important to draw attention to emerging issues newly added to the COP agenda: grasslands and rangelands conservation and restoration, and sustainable agri-food systems, in order to lay a solid foundations for future discussions. Annex 2 also encourages parties to support decisions fostering synergies between the UNCCD and the other Rio conventions. By aligning our efforts, we can address interconnected challenges more effectively, leverage shared resources, and create a cohesive approach to achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its Sustainable Development Goals. Mr. President, while we recognize that COP16 may present challenges, we approach them with optimism and purpose. We encourage all delegates to engage with a spirit of cooperation, innovation, and urgency, knowing that the decisions made here will shape the future of our lands and the well-being of the communities that rely on them, including future generations. Let us seize this opportunity to turn our plans into concrete actions to foster transformative change on the ground and to build a more resilient and sustainable future. We look forward to a productive and meaningful discussions throughout this conference. Thank you, Mr. President.
شكرا مجموعة آسيا المحيط الهادي.
I thank the Asia Pacific Group and now give the floor to Ecuador, speaking on behalf of the Latin American and Caribbean states. You have the floor.
Señor Presidente, tengo el honor de realizar.
Mr. President, I have the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the countries of the Latin American and the Caribbean Group, GRUDA. We express our gratitude to the government and the people of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for their warm hospitality and for hosting the COP16 of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, the UNCCD. We also extend our appreciation to the Secretariat for their diligence in preparing this meeting and for their support to our countries. Mr. President, Latin America and the Caribbean region is one of the most biodiverse regions of the planet, but it is highly vulnerable to desertification, land degradation, and drought, problems exacerbated by the negative impacts of climate change. For this reason, we reaffirm our determination to implement the Convention, the 2018-2030 Strategic Framework, and to strive to achieve the goal of a land degradation neutral world. Fulfilling the commitments under the UNCCD framework is crucial for our region. We therefore call for urgent and coordinated global actions to address desertification, land degradation, and drought, and this for the benefit of the people, as well as for increased, adequate, and predictable means of implementation, including financing, capacity building, technology transfer, and scientific and technical cooperation. At COP16, drought should be elevated as a primary focus in our discussions. As a region, we will seek to build consensus based on a progressive and balanced approach, especially considering the needs of developing countries. We call for political recognition, for urgent actions, for global partnerships, for access to increased financial resources, and robust, agile, and adaptable decisions tailored to the specific circumstances of each country. Given the urgency of the need for action, we support an agile instrument, preferably not legally binding, an instrument which is adaptable to all countries. In our common efforts, we should all consider a dedicated financial mechanism for drought-related projects and the development of indicators and targets aligned with national realities. Additionally, we believe it is essential to continue addressing the challenges faced by vulnerable populations, including indigenous peoples and local communities, as well as addressing how to address other items related to gender, to forced migration due to land degradation, land tenure, and other emerging matters. The international community must address the challenges and needs related to desertification, land degradation, and drought faced by developing countries, including small island developing states, SIDS, LDCs, the least developed countries, and also middle-income countries. We also emphasize the complementarity between the UNCCD and other multilateral environmental agreements while respecting the purpose, the scope, and the financing requirements of each international instrument. Finally, we stress the need to continue raising the global profile of the UNCCD and to develop effective communication strategies involving other stakeholders, including youth organizations, civil society, the private sector, international financial organizations, and academia. We foresee a successful COP16. You can count on the commitment of GRULAC countries to achieve progress and substantive results that contribute to a more sustainable future for this and future generations. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. President.
I would like to thank you for this statement on behalf of the group of Latin American and Caribbean states, and I would now like to give the country to I would like to give the floor to for a statement on behalf of the Regional Implementation Annex for Central and Eastern Europe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Executive Secretary, Mr. Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates and representatives from intergovernmental and non-governmental organizations. It is an honor to speak on behalf of the Annex 4 and its 12 affected country parties. We would like to express our deepest appreciation to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the city of Riyadh for hosting the 16th Conference of the Parties of the UNCCD and to the Secretariat of their tireless efforts in organizing this event. Over the past few years, we have faced immense interconnected global challenges and crises which demand urgent action, making this COP a watershed moment to reaffirm our commitment to combating desertification, land degradation and drought, and enhancing our efforts to achieve land degradation neutrality in line with Agenda 2030, as well as reaffirming our efforts to support other countries in these endeavors. It has become increasingly clear that land-based solutions play a pivotal role in addressing ongoing environmental crises and challenges, considering also their social and economic implications, especially regarding the people's well-being. It is a matter of fact that in our region, desertification, land degradation, droughts, and extreme weather events, particularly devastating floods, continue to pose major threats to ecosystems, economies, and communities. The rising intensity of these challenges and crises requires proactive, innovative, and science-based solutions to restore the balance between land, water, climate, and human development. In this context, the Annex 4 countries recognize the vital role of the UNCCD in fostering international cooperation. We welcome the agenda of COP16, including the focus on drought, sand and dust storms, land tenure, and gender, together with enhancing our efforts to reach RDN. We particularly welcome the efforts made by the UNCCD Secretariat and the Global Mechanism to promote gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls in the implementation of the Convention, considering the crucial role of women and reaching these objectives. Furthermore, Annex 4 countries emphasize the importance of increasing the level of involvement and participation of youth, CSOs, private sector, indigenous peoples, local communities, and other relevant stakeholders, as well as media through respective engagement plans and specific strategies. Therefore, we convey their appreciation to the efforts of UNCCD Secretariat and the global mechanism so far. We also welcome the report of the Intergovernmental Working Group on the midterm evaluation and trust that its insight will guide us towards globally beneficial solutions and the more effective implementation of the Convention and the more effective achievement of its strategic objectives. Annex 4 welcomes the deliberations on leveraging synergies between the UNCCD and its sister conventions, including through the Rio Trio initiative and other relevant streams, as well as other related processes, such as G7 and G20, UN Water and UN NFF. As integrating land, biodiversity and climate action can foster cross-sectoral collaboration, leading to more impactful efforts and invite to adopt effective plans and programs to promote these synergies at national level, involving also NFPs and STCs. One of the key concerns of Annex 4 remains the growing frequency and severity of droughts. Since the previous COP, our region has faced severe droughts, significantly harming our agricultural production, food supply, biodiversity, health, and livelihoods. The Intergovernmental Working Group on Drought has made notable progress on this issue, but further action is necessary at this COP to adopt a set of instruments that could enhance drought management and governments at all levels. Furthermore, we also welcome efforts made in the other processes, such as IDRA's initiative to prepare an international drought resilience observatory, and we would invite all to follow this initiative. In line with the COP16 agenda, Annex 4 countries are working on scaling up technologies and mechanisms for sustainable land management while promoting climate resilience, biodiversity conservation, and sustainable agriculture. Furthermore, we are committed to enhancing our regional coordination on key priorities such as drought preparedness and wildfire management. Therefore, we welcome the efforts of the Business of Land Initiative and the Sustainable Land Management Business Forum. We are also keen to further explore opportunities for cooperation to strengthen global solidarity and promote effective solutions. Our region has witnessed the benefits of coordinated actions through public-private partnerships and transboundary collaboration, yet much remains to be done. In conclusion, the challenges we are facing are vast and unprecedented, and their trends should be considered. COP16 is our chance to reinvigorate the momentum needed to achieve people and planet well-being and ensure that leave behind a legacy of sustainability for future generations. Yet, the Northern Mediterranean region stands ready to work in solidarity with all parties to combat land degradation and build resilience to drought. On behalf of the Annex 4, we reaffirm our commitment to the objectives of the UNCCD and look forward to productive discussions towards a more sustainable and equitable future. Thank you for your attention, and I wish us all a successful and impactful COP16.
We would like to thank Hungary and the countries of Annex 4 for the Northern Mediterranean. And I give the floor now to the representative of Azerbaijan to deliver a statement on behalf of the regional implementation Annex for Central and Eastern Europe.
Executive Secretary, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of parties of Annex 5 region, I am pleased to deliver this statement at the opening of 16th Session Conference of Parties of the Convention. We would like to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for its warm welcome and hospitality. We would like to congratulate all 197 parties to UNCCD on the 30th anniversary of UNCCD that is celebrated this 2024. We acknowledge what is achieved so far, and it's our common responsibility to join to find ways on how land restoration can be accelerated for the sake of global environmental sustainability. The global character of UNCCD is undeniable. Its role as a sole legally binding global instrument dealing with land management and drought issues shall be reinforced by all of us. As a convention of universal ratification with an open scope, it has strong synergies with Rio Conventions and other environmental legal instruments. Thus, sustainable land management is a milestone for effective climate adaptation and biodiversity conservation. SDG 15 Target 3, which aims to strive towards land degradation neutrality by 2030, is a driving force for many countries to strengthen policies for sustainable land management. To reach the SDG 15.3, the scope of the UNCCD is a responsible custodian agency should be extended beyond arid, semi-arid, and subhumid areas. In this regard, we encourage UNCCD to take further actions to consider full range of terrestrial ecosystem. For the UNCCD to be fully recognized as a global document, we consider that this issue should be incorporated in decision on midterm evaluation. The text proposed for the draft decision has already been shared with all parties. We would like to express our gratitude to the Intergovernmental Working Group on Midterm Evaluation of UNCCD 2018-2030 Strategic Framework for their work, as also independent evaluators for the preparation of corresponding report. We expect that findings and recommendations arising from Intergovernmental Working Group midterm evaluation work will serve as a foundation for more effective implementation of the UNCCD strategic framework during its second half, ensuring increased visibility, recognition, and enhanced political influence of the Convention. Addressing drought management at global level is priority of the UNCCD, which is particularly important for Central and Eastern Europe region. Due to climate change, drought conditions are increasing in frequency and severity in all parts of the world, aggravating land degradation. Therefore, we would like to highlight the importance of the work of the Intergovernmental Working Group on Drought and its challenging and important mission for developing effective policy to address proactive drought management. We recall that the Convention is committed to fully integrating women across all its action and domains. The Annex 5 countries attach important the need of supporting women and enhancing their capacities to implement Gender Action Plan and its roadmap. Our region also acknowledges that land tenure is critical in achieving land degradation neutrality and addressing drought. We do assure that the Annex 5 region will continue to make every effort on national and regional level towards land implementation of the objectives set at COP16. We call upon parties and donors to increase financial commitments and promote innovative financing such as public-private partnership and leveraging climate finance for land restoration. Integrating land degradation into national budget will ensure sustained funding. By strengthening the UNCCD's financial foundation through the global cooperation, we can accelerate sustainable land management and achieve our common goals. I thank you for your attention.
We would like to thank Azerbaijan and the countries of Annex 5 for Eastern and Central Europe. I give the floor now to Mrs. Thanayat Naim Sati from Eco Climate Organization to deliver a statement on behalf of the CSOs.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, and colleagues. On behalf of the accredited civil society organizations, women, youth, and indigenous peoples attending UNCCD COP16, we extend our deepest gratitude to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for hosting COP16 and to the UNCCD Secretariat for its steadfast leadership. This COP takes place at a pivotal moment when the global community faces severe and interlinked challenges of land degradation, desertification, biodiversity loss, and climate change exacerbated by conflicts. These issues disproportionately affect women, youth, indigenous peoples, pastoralists, and local communities, who, despite facing these hardships, remain a vital source of transformative solutions. We stand united in calling for ambitious and inclusive action at COP16. The meaningful participation of women, youth, indigenous peoples, pastoralists, and local communities in decision-making at all levels must be institutionalized. Their insights and lived experiences are critical for shaping policies that effectively address land degradation and promote sustainable land management and restoration. To this end, we urge parties to strengthen efforts to implement COP14 Decision 26 on land tenure by allocating adequate resources for capacity building and knowledge sharing among policymakers, land administrators, civil society organizations, and local groups. Integrated approaches to land restoration and management must remain a priority. We call on parties to adopt agroecological and agroforestry approaches, support community-led conservation initiatives, and end subsidies for harmful practices such as unsustainable agriculture, extractive industries, and water-intensive activities. Recognizing the interconnectedness of land systems with climate and biodiversity action, we urge greater harmonization of efforts under the UNCCD, UNFCCC, and CBD frameworks to ensure coordinated and impactful outcomes. Innovative and equitable financing is critical to empower local communities and scale up restoration initiatives. Public financial resources, small grants, and fiscal incentives must be mobilized to support locally led actions that enhance resilience and combat desertification. Transparent and inclusive monitoring systems are equally important, incorporating gender and age disaggregated data on tenure rights to enhance accountability and ensure equitable outcomes. We also call for all countries to report on UNCCD relevant SDG targets and integrate these indicators into PRAISE. To promote inclusivity, we urge support for the gender and youth caucuses, the establishment of an indigenous peoples caucus, and strengthened implementation of the Gender Action Plan, including a gender expert in the science policy interface, appointing gender focal points at the national level, and enabling meaningful civil society participation through training platforms, and financial support will further bolster these efforts. As we mark the 30th anniversary of the UNCCD, let us seize this moment to scale up actions against desertification, land degradation, and drought. It is time to translate declarations into decisive action for a sustainable and equitable future. Thank you.
نشكر السيدة نهايات ونشكر منظمات المجتمع المدني.
I'd like to thank you speaking on behalf of the civil society organizations, and I'd like to thank the civil society organizations taking part. This was the last speaker at this opening session. Now we are going to, we will hear subsequent statements at a later session. Now, delegates, following consultations, it's my understanding that we are going to establish a Friends of the Chair Group to work on a ministerial declaration. This will be the Riyadh policy declaration, the outcome declaration of this COP. The Friends of the Chair Group will be facilitated by a group representing the COP presidency, and a report on the outcomes of its work will be submitted directly to me in my capacity as president. May I therefore take it that the conference wishes to establish a Friends of the Chair group to work on the ministerial declaration, namely the Riyadh Policy Declaration of COP16? I hear no objection. It is so decided. Thank you very much. Now they've got two. Which is working?
We're now going to close the program of this meeting, and this afternoon, the ministerial declaration that is from Geneva to Riyadh and beyond, promoting the international and national policy tools for a proactive approach designed to manage drought. Now, that meeting is taking place at 2 p.m. in the plenary, in the main meeting room. That is the plenary held in the main meeting room. So the plenary will continue as of 3 p.m. in the plenary. The Committee of the Whole will take place immediately after the COP. For further information about COP16 and the other meetings, please turn to the website of the conference and the site on the implementation of the convention. This meeting stands adjourned.